In the harsh Wyoming territory of 1876, where justice hangs as precariously as the nooses that took her husband's life, Josephine Freeman tracks a wounded stagecoach through unforgiving wilderness. The widowed black woman discovers a dying mother protecting her child. Unknowingly, the daughter of cattle baron Randall Blackwood, the man responsible for her husband's lynching. With bounty hunters closing in and a moral debt to a dying woman, Josephine must choose between vengeance and protecting the innocent child of her sworn enemy. A lone figure stands on a cliff edge, silhouetted against the setting sun. Josephine Freeman, an African-American woman dressed in worn trail clothes, aims her Winchester rifle at a man kneeling 20 yards away. Behind her cowers 8-year-old Eliza Blackwood, clutching Josephine's skirts. The man, Randall Blackwood, wealthy cattle baron, has his hands raised. Blood trickles from his temple. At his feet lies a marshal's badge. "He killed Isaiah," Josephine tells the child without looking back. "Your father had my husband lynched." Eliza's voice trembles. "Is that why you saved me? To bring me here?" Josephine's finger tightens on the trigger as tears stream down her face. "I made a promise to a dying woman that I'd protect you, even from him." Blackwood's voice breaks. "I didn't know he was innocent until after." A gunshot echoes across the canyon. Wyoming Territory, 1876. 6 months earlier, Josephine Freeman stalked through tall grass, Winchester rifle balanced against her shoulder. Wind carried the scent of smoke. Not cook fire smoke. Something else. She crested the ridge. Below, a stagecoach lay on its side, splintered wood, bodies scattered, birds circling. Josephine approached with her rifle ready. No movement among the dead men. Then a soft groan from behind the overturned coach. A woman in fine clothes lay propped against a wheel. Blood soaked her dress. Next to her, a small girl huddled, face buried in her mother's side. "Help," the woman whispered, eyes finding Josephine's. "Please." Josephine knelt beside them. The woman wouldn't last the hour. The child seemed unharmed. "Who's there?" "My husband." "Where is he?" "Dead." Eliza nodded with a child's acceptance of hard truths. "Like Mama now." That afternoon, Josephine taught the girl to carry water. Small hands on a small bucket. They washed clothes in the creek, hung them on a line stretched between pines. Josephine caught herself humming, a song she hadn't sung since before. A rider appeared that evening. Josephine kept Eliza inside while she met him at the property edge. "Ma'am," he nodded. "Passing word. Stage got hit yesterday. Blackwood's wife and child. Reward posted." He handed her a paper. Randall Blackwood's face stared back. The man whose accusation had hanged Isaiah. Below, drawings of Catherine and Eliza. $500, the writer said. "Dead or alive for the bandits. 5,000 for the child returned safe." Josephine's face revealed nothing. "I'll keep watch." That night, she stared at the wanted poster. Randall Blackwood's stern eyes seemed to follow her around the cabin. The man who had pointed at Isaiah in a crowded saloon. Cattle rustler, he'd called him. The crowd believed a rich white man over a black one. Isaiah never stood a chance. Eliza slept in the bed, small chest rising and falling, innocent of her father's sins. Josephine held Catherine's locket, opened it. Inside, a portrait of Eliza and Catherine. On the other side, Randall Blackwood, the family whole. Dawn brought decision. Josephine packed supplies. "Where are we going?" Eliza asked, suddenly alert. "Colorado. My sister lives there." "What about my papa?" Josephine tied her bedroll tight. "He won't find you with me." "Don't you want the reward?" Josephine paused. Some debts can't be paid with money. Riders would come soon. Bounty hunters. Desperate men. The wilderness held dangers, but none greater than returning this child to Blackwood. Josephine loaded the Winchester, checked her pistol, filled canteens. "Is someone coming?" Eliza asked. "Yes." "Bad people? People who want things they can't have." They left at midday. Josephine led them west, away from town, away from roads, into country only she and Isaiah had known, ground that wouldn't hold tracks, trails without names. First night on the trail, they camped beneath an overhang of rock. No fire, cold beans from a tin. Eliza didn't complain. "My papa will be worried," she said softly. Josephine stared into darkness. "Your papa worried about Isaiah too, worried he might talk." "About what?" "Truth." Eliza wrapped herself tighter in the blanket. "Mama and Papa fought before we left. She was crying." Josephine watched the child's face in moonlight, eyes like her mother's, chin like her father's. "Sleep," Josephine said. "Tomorrow we cross the ridge." After Eliza drifted off, Josephine removed a folded handbill from her pocket. Not the reward notice. An older paper. Isaiah Freeman, it read. Hanged for cattle theft and murder of a Blackwood Ranch hand. She traced his name with her finger. The paper had gone soft from handling. Dawn would bring hard country, mountains, then plains, then Colorado. The child of her enemy slept trustingly beside her. The irony wasn't lost on Josephine. She had sworn to protect Eliza, but she had also sworn to make Blackwood pay. Both promises would be kept. Randall Blackwood paced his study. Maps covered his desk. Red marks showed where search parties had already looked. "Find her," he told the man standing quietly in the corner. Abel Curtis nodded, lean as a whip, eyes that never settled, tracker's eyes. "Someone took her on purpose, not bandits." Blackwood slammed his fist on the desk. $5,000 isn't enough. "I don't work for money," Abel said. He picked up the drawing of Eliza. "I'll find her." Miles away, Josephine helped Eliza climb a steep hillside. The child's city shoes weren't made for mountain paths. "My feet hurt," Eliza said. Josephine knelt, unwrapped strips of deerskin from her pack, bound them around Eliza's ankles and feet. "Better for walking." The girl flexed her feet, nodded. They followed a stream upward. Water this high ran clean, cold enough to ache teeth. Josephine taught Eliza to drink from cupped hands. "Like a bird bath," the girl said, water dripping down her chin. Something close to a smile touched Josephine's face, vanished quickly. She showed Eliza which berries to eat, which mushrooms to avoid, how to move without snapping twigs. Small lessons for survival. That night they sheltered under a rock ledge. Josephine built a small fire, screened from distant view. "Tell me about your husband," Eliza said suddenly. Josephine fed another stick to the flames. "His name was Isaiah. He could read tracks like words on a page." "Did he teach you?" "Some things. Others I taught him." "What happened to him?" Josephine stared into the fire. "Men decided he was guilty without proof. Men like your father." Eliza pulled her knees to her chest. "Papa says there are bad people everywhere." "Yes," Josephine said, "there are." Dawn painted the mountains gold. They continued higher. Harder terrain meant fewer followers. Josephine checked behind them often. No sign of pursuit yet. Eliza kept pace better now. Less complaining, more watching, learning. They crested a ridge by midday. Below stretched miles of forest, then prairie. Colorado lay beyond. "Is it far?" Eliza asked. 4 days if we're lucky." Luck wasn't with them. Dark clouds gathered that afternoon. Thunder rolled across the sky like wagon wheels on stone. They found shelter beneath thick pines as rain lashed down, huddled together against the cold. Josephine wrapped her coat around them both. "Mama said, 'Angels bowling when it thundered,'" Eliza whispered. Josephine said nothing. Her people had different stories for storms. The rain lasted through the night. Dawn revealed a transformed world. Streams had become rivers. Paths had washed away. Their descent took twice as long as planned. Mud sucked at boots. Rocks shifted underfoot. Twice Josephine caught Eliza before she fell. By evening, the child's strength was fading. Josephine carried her the last mile to level ground. "I can walk," Eliza protested weakly. "Save your strength," Josephine said. The girl weighed no more than a fawn. They made camp in a hollow shielded by boulders. No fire tonight, too exposed on the foothills. Josephine shared the last of their jerky. Tomorrow they would need to hunt. "Why did you really take me?" Eliza asked, eyes solemn in the gathering darkness. "I promised your mother." "You could have given me to someone else." Josephine tucked the blanket around Eliza's shoulders. "Sleep now." Morning brought clarity to the plains ahead and tracks around their camp. Boot prints, horse droppings. Someone had found them in the night, then withdrawn. Josephine loaded her rifle, kept it ready. They traveled faster now on flatter ground, but more exposed. Josephine led them through tall grass when possible, used streams to mask their trail. At midday, they sighted a lone rider on the horizon, just watching. "Is that Papa?" Eliza asked, hope in her voice. "No." Josephine steered them toward a line of trees. "Someone he sent." The rider didn't approach, just tracked their movement, disappeared after an hour. That night, Josephine didn't sleep. The Winchester across her lap, eyes scanning the darkness. She was preparing breakfast when 6 riders emerged from the tree line. Too late to run. Josephine positioned herself between them and Eliza. A bearded man led them, missing 2 fingers on his left hand. Thaddeus Cole, his name spoken in whispers even before Isaiah died. "Well now," Cole called, "what's a colored woman doing out here with a white child?" Josephine said nothing. Rifle ready, but not raised. 6 guns against 1 was poor odds. "That there's Blackwood's girl," another rider said. $5,000. Cole smiled without warmth. "Shame about your mother, girl, but looks like you found yourself a new one." "She's not my mother," Eliza said, her voice small but clear. "Smart child." Cole dismounted. "Come on then. Your papa's worried sick." Josephine's finger curled around the trigger. "Don't," Cole warned. "Not worth dying over someone else's child." "Go back to your father," Josephine told Eliza, eyes still on Cole. "It's all right." Josephine unfolded the paper, a sworn statement, from Blackwood himself, testifying that Isaiah Freeman had been wrongfully accused. That evidence had been planted. Her hands trembled. Why would he admit this now? "Look at the date," Abel said quietly. 3 months ago, before Catherine's death, before Eliza's disappearance. Mrs. Whitman nodded. Something changed. That night, Josephine couldn't sleep. The statement lay on her chest like a stone. Truth should have felt lighter. Abel found her on the porch at dawn. "You have questions." It wasn't a question itself, just acknowledgement. "Why didn't he come forward sooner?" she asked. "Before they killed Isaiah?" Abel leaned against the railing. "Blackwood told me bits. His business partner was stealing cattle, framing others. Isaiah saw something he shouldn't have. And Blackwood let him hang for it." Yes. Abel's honesty was brutal, refreshing. But he's been searching for proof since then. Found it recently. Too late for Isaiah. Yes. The simple word hung between them. No excuses offered. No absolution expected. Eliza appeared in the doorway. Sleep-rumpled hair. Eyes too knowing for a child. "Are we leaving today?" she asked. Mrs. Whitman helped them prepare. Food, fresh clothes, information about patrols, and something else. 3 tickets for the eastbound train. "Safest way to Colorado now," she said. "Train leaves at noon." They left the cabins separately. Mrs. Whitman took Eliza, disguised in a boy's clothes. Abel went to create a diversion at the saloon. Josephine waited alone in the church. The plan worked until it didn't. Josephine spotted the ticket agent speaking with one of Blackwood's men, pointing toward the train, toward where Mrs. Whitman and Eliza waited. She moved without thinking, cut through alleyways, reached them just as Blackwood's men approached. "Run," she told Mrs. Whitman. "Get her on that train." Josephine stepped into the open, drawing attention, drawing fire. The distraction worked. Mrs. Whitman and Eliza slipped aboard, but Josephine found herself cornered. trapped between buildings with no way out. Then Abel was there, badge in hand. Not a tracker's badge, a marshal's star. "Federal business," he announced to the confused men. "This woman is under my protection." They boarded the train seconds before it departed, found Mrs. Whitman and Eliza in a private compartment, paid for with Blackwood's own reward money. The irony wasn't lost on any of them. Night fell as the train crossed the plains. Abel stood guard in the corridor. Mrs. Whitman dozed in the corner. "Will we really go to your sister?" Eliza asked. Josephine smoothed the girl's hair. "Yes, she has children your age." "What about Papa?" The question Josephine had been avoiding. "He'll know where you are. When he's ready to tell the whole truth, perhaps he can visit." Eliza nodded, accepting this compromise. The train whistle shrieked, brakes grinding, bodies thrown forward. Abel burst into the compartment. "Blackwood's men! They've stopped the train!" No time for plans. They fled into the night, away from the tracks, into wilderness again. Rain began, soft at first, then driving. Lightning split the sky. Thunder shook the ground. They found shelter in an abandoned church, roof half gone, walls still standing, holy ground turned forgotten. Abel built a fire in what once was the altar. Mrs. Whitman tended to Eliza, who shivered despite blankets. "Fever," she pronounced. "The child needs proper care." By morning, Eliza burned hotter, mumbled in her sleep, called for her mother, for Josephine, sometimes for her father. Abel rode out to find medicines. Mrs. Whitman gathered what herbs grew nearby. Josephine stayed at Eliza's side, cooling her forehead with a damp cloth, singing softly. The fever worsened by nightfall. Eliza thrashed in delirium, words spilling out unchecked. "Mama was crying," she murmured. "Papa said he was sorry, said he knew the truth about the black man." Josephine went still. "What truth, Eliza?" "That he didn't steal, didn't kill anyone." The child's eyes fluttered, not seeing the present. "Papa told Mama he let the man hang anyway, to protect Mr. Haggerty." Josephine's world tilted, confirmation of what she'd suspected, but hearing it from Eliza's innocent lips made it real, made it worse. "Mama got so angry, said she was taking me away, until Papa made it right." Abel returned with medicine. Mrs. Whitman brewed it into tea, coaxed it down Eliza's throat. Josephine stepped outside. Rain had stopped. Stars emerged between clouds, the same stars Isaiah had died under. She felt Abel's presence before he spoke. "You heard?" "Yes," she said. "What will you do now?" An honest question. She had the proof she needed. The confession. The child of her enemy lay helpless inside. Justice and vengeance both within reach. "She needs me," Josephine said simply. Abel nodded, understanding. Mrs. Whitman joined them. "Fever's breaking. She's asking for you." Inside, Eliza's eyes were clear again. Her small hand reached for Josephine's. "Don't leave," she whispered. "I won't." The child drifted to sleep, peaceful now, healing. For the first time since Isaiah died, Josephine wept. Not from sorrow, not precisely. Something else. The weight of hatred lifting, the price of forgiveness heavy in its own way. Abel kept watch at the door. Mrs. Whitman dozed beside the fire. Outside, hoofbeats approached through the night. Many riders, coming fast. Abel's hand went to his pistol. "They found us." Josephine wiped her tears, picked up her rifle. "He's come for his daughter." "And for you." "Yes." She checked the chamber. "One bullet. But he'll find I'm not the same woman his actions created." Eliza stirred, opened her eyes, somehow knew. "Papa's coming." "Yes," Josephine said. "Will you kill him?" The question hung in the church air, holy in its directness. Josephine looked at the child who had become hers in all but blood. "What would justice look like to you, Eliza?" The girl considered this with an adult's gravity. "Truth. Outside, riders surrounded the church. A voice called out in the darkness. Randall Blackwood had come to claim what was his, and to face what he had created. Dawn crept through broken church windows. Light spilled across dusty pews, across Eliza's sleeping face. Josephine stood at the altar, Winchester ready, Abel beside her, his badge catching sunlight. "Let me talk to him first," Abel said. "No." Josephine checked her rifle again. "He comes inside alone or not at all." Mrs. Whitman tended to Eliza. The fever had broken, but weakness remained. The child slept fitfully. Outside, men on horseback circled the church, 20 at least, guns ready but not aimed. Not yet. A lone figure dismounted, approached the church doors, stopped at the threshold. "I'm coming in," Blackwood called. Josephine positioned herself between him and Eliza. "Alone." "Alone," he agreed. The door creaked open. Randall Blackwood stood framed by morning light, tall, silver at his temples, lines carved deeper than Josephine remembered from the lynching day. His eyes found his daughter first, relief visible in the slump of his shoulders. Then he faced Josephine, removed his hat, a gesture of respect she hadn't expected. "Mrs. Freeman," he said softly. She kept the rifle steady. "Mr. Blackwood." They studied each other across the empty space, history heavy between them, blood and accusation and loss. "Is she well?" he asked. "Fever broke in the night. She needs rest." Blackwood nodded, took a step forward, stopped when Josephine's rifle shifted slightly. "I've come for my daughter." "She's not ready to leave." His jaw tightened. "She belongs with her father." "The father who let an innocent man hang?" The words hung in the church air, sacred in their truth. Blackwood's face changed, something crumbling behind his eyes. "How much do you know?" "Enough." Josephine's voice remained steady. "Eliza talks in her fever." Understanding dawned on his face, fear close behind it. "What did she say?" "That you knew Isaiah was innocent, that you protected your business partner instead." Blackwood looked down, the closest to shame she'd seen from a white man. "It was more complicated." "Death usually is." Abel moved forward. "Perhaps we should all sit down." Blackwood noticed the marshal's badge for the first time. Confusion crossed his face. "You're working for the law now, Curtis." "Always was." Abel's voice held no apology. "Undercover, investigating cattle rustling and a lynching." This revelation landed like a physical blow. Blackwood staggered slightly. "Isaiah was working with you." Abel nodded. "Deputy Marshal, unofficially." Josephine's hands tightened on her rifle. This she hadn't known. Isaiah keeping secrets, too. Eliza stirred, small voice from the makeshift bed. "Papa." Blackwood moved toward his daughter. Josephine stepped aside. Some boundaries even vengeance wouldn't cross. He knelt beside Eliza, touched her forehead, checked her pulse. Fatherhood momentarily more important than all else. "I'm here, little one." "You found me." "Always would." Eliza's eyes found Josephine. "She saved me, Papa, when Mama died." Blackwood looked up at Josephine, something new in his gaze, gratitude mixed with remorse. "Thank you." Two simple words, inadequate for the weight they carried. Josephine said nothing. Words were cheap. Actions had already spoken louder. Abel pulled a chair to the center of the church. "Time for truth, Blackwood." "All of it." Blackwood sat, shoulders bent under invisible weight. "Where should I begin?" "Isaiah Freeman," Abel said. "The day he died." The story unfolded in pieces. Haggerty, Blackwood's business partner, stealing cattle, framing others, Isaiah witnessing a killing. "I believed Haggerty at first," Blackwood admitted. "Then I found discrepancies in his story. Too late to stop the lynching." "But not too late for justice after," Abel pressed. "I confronted Haggerty 3 months ago. He drew on me." Didn't survive. And the sworn statement? Josephine asked. Filed with the territorial court. Isaiah's name cleared officially. After he was dead. Blackwood nodded. Catherine was furious. Said it wasn't enough. That I'd let an innocent man die to protect my business interests. She was right, Mrs. Whitman said from her corner. Yes. Blackwood looked at his hands. She took Eliza. Said she wouldn't return until I made proper amends. To who? Josephine asked. To you. He reached into his coat, slowly, showing he meant no threat, withdrew a small cloth pouch, placed it on the floor between them. Isaiah's badge. He was a good man, a lawman. Eliza watched this exchange, child eyes missing nothing. The stage attack, Abel said, not random. Haggerty had partners. They knew what I'd done, wanted to silence Catherine before she could testify. The pieces aligned now, a tapestry of greed and consequence, of innocent blood spilled, of guilt seeking absolution. What happens now? Blackwood asked. Josephine picked up the badge, Isaiah's secret life held in her palm. I take Eliza to Colorado. As I promised her mother, she's my daughter. She needs healing, from her mother's death, from fevers, from truths too heavy for children. They had reached the crucible, the moment where paths diverged or converged, where vengeance and justice might part ways. Eliza spoke from her bed. Papa could come too. The child's simple solution hung in the air between them, impossible in its innocence, necessary in its wisdom. For a time, Josephine conceded. Until she's well. Blackwood nodded, agreement reached without further words. Abel stepped outside to inform the waiting men. Mrs. Whitman prepared travel medicines for Eliza. Josephine moved to the broken church window, stared at distant mountains, the path to Colorado still waiting. Blackwood joined her, proper distance between them, respect for boundaries newly formed. What do you want from me? He asked quietly. The question she'd imagined answering 1,000 times during sleepless nights. Now that it had been asked, the answer surprised her. A school, she said, where Isaiah died, for all children, black and white. Blackwood considered this. Land and money are easy. Changing hearts is harder. Start with actions. Hearts follow eventually. Is that forgiveness? No. Josephine turned to face him fully. Its purpose. 1 year later, a schoolhouse stood where Isaiah Freeman had died. White clapboard walls, bell in a small tower, children's voices carrying on the wind. Josephine watched from the doorway as students of all colors recited lessons, knowledge shared without regard to skin. Eliza sat in the front row, no longer the fragile child from the fever church, stronger now, wiser for her journey. Outside, Blackwood directed workers building a second classroom, shirt sleeves rolled up, hands calloused from labor he'd never known before. Mrs. Whitman taught alongside Josephine, her knowledge of plants and healing arts incorporated into the curriculum. After classes, Eliza walked to her mother's grave. Fresh flowers placed daily, quiet conversations with the departed. Josephine finished grading papers as the afternoon light slanted through windows. A rider approached down the long road. She recognized the silhouette immediately. Abel Curtis dismounted at the hitching post, removed his hat as he entered the classroom. Marshal, she acknowledged. He handed her an envelope, official seal of the territorial governor. Isaiah's pardon, officially signed. She took the document, the paper that would have saved her husband's life if it had come sooner. Thank you for bringing it. Abel nodded. Blackwood's testimony made the difference. Through the window, she watched Eliza leading her father by the hand, showing him wildflowers growing where blood had once soaked the ground. Will you stay for supper? She asked Abel. Just passing through. He replaced his hat, nodded toward the document. Justice served, even if late. Justice is never complete, she said, only continued. After Abel rode away, Josephine walked outside. The setting sun painted the schoolhouse gold. Children's footprints marked the yard, small impressions that would be gone with the next rain. But the children would return, learn again, leave new marks. She held the pardon over a lantern flame, watched the official paper blacken and curl. The fire reflected in her eyes, not destruction, but transformation. Eliza appeared at her side. "Is that Uncle Isaiah's paper?" It was. "Why burn it?" Josephine watched the last fragments turn to ash. Some things aren't meant to be kept. Like anger? The child's perception pierced deeply. "Like anger," Josephine agreed. They walked together toward the small house they shared with Blackwood, an arrangement begun in necessity, continued by choice, complicated by history, sustained by a child's need for both. From the porch, Blackwood watched them approach, his face carrying the burden of his actions still, the cost of atonement never fully paid. Josephine met his eyes across the yard, nodded once, acknowledgement of progress made, distance still to travel. The bell in the schoolhouse tower rang in the evening breeze, sound carrying across land once marked by death, now planted with knowledge, with possibility. Some debts can never be paid.